Hello, welcome to the Management Channel. We are under the Team Dynamics section and we're looking at team decision making. We're going to look at some of the techniques used in making decisions as a team. So, we're going to gain a fundamental understanding of the business decision methods. We're going to take a look at the ability of using the decision making process. We're going to try to understand the probability theory and decision trees as decision making tools. Examine the concepts of polarization and groupthink, and learn how teams can improve the ability to achieve consensus decision making. So, basically, a problem exists whenever objectives are not met. Problem solving is a process of taking some kind of corrective action to meet those objectives. And decision making is a process of selecting an alternative course of action that will solve a problem, other than flipping a coin or rolling the dice. Decisions are made to solve problems and take advantage of opportunities which could occur at the same time. But the first decision is whether or not to take corrective action. Managers get paid to perform two main functions. One, make effective decisions, and two, solve problems. There are two basic types of decisions. Programmed, which is routine, repetitive, and usually have specific ways of handling the problems. They're written in some kind of procedure or document. And non-programmed, which are one-shot decisions, usually less structured with unknown variables. Team decision-making constraints are that teams take longer than an individual to make a decision. And it takes time to organize, coordinate, and maintain relationships in the team. And the evaluation apprehension occurs when individuals are reluctant to mention new ideas that to them might seem silly because they believe that the other team members are going to laugh at them or are silently evaluating them. There's peer pressure to conform, suppressing opinions that might oppose the team norms, or members might punish the violator or try to persuade him or her that the opinion they given is incorrect. Groupthink is another problem. It's the tendency of highly cohesive teams to value consensus at the price of decision quality. They desire more to harmonize and agree on terms than they are to actually solve the problem. And that's a problem. So, guidelines for team decisions. Team norms should encourage critical thinking. They should have sufficient team diversity. And that doesn't mean race, color, gender. It means someone from every department that this decision could be affected by. Ensure neither leader nor any member dominates the group. Maintain an optimal team size. And again, we're going to say 5 to 6. Want to introduce some effective team structures and look at some of the models of making decisions. The rational decision-making model is a process of steps the decision maker takes to arrive at a decision. The steps are: identify an existing problem, list the possible alternatives for solving the problem, select the most beneficial alternative, and implement that alternative that you selected. Then gather feedback. Is the problem solved, or do we need to regroup and look at it again? So step 1, identify the existing problem. Determine and identify what problems or barriers exist. Second step is to list alternative solutions. List all the possible solutions. However, be aware of the negative effect of too many alternatives. Having too many of those could dilute the process or demotivate the decision makers. Step 3 is to select the best beneficial alternative. Evaluate all the alternative solutions and then choose the one that is most likely to bring success. And then implement it. List the actions that have to be followed. Implement the alternative according to your plans. And fifth step, gather feedback. Monitor the performance. Solicit input from the related personnel on the floor, and then go back and revise as needed. The bounded rationality method is managers do not always have access to the resources required to make a good rational decision. and management is often bounded by restraints, and thus they tend to satisfice. Satisfice means selecting the alternative that easily and quickly solves the problem. It's good enough. The choices are made rather than digging deeper. Decision making and intuition is an individual's inborn ability to synthesize information quickly and effectively. Heuristics are those simple rules of thumb to make decisions, and bias is influenced by prejudice, experience, intuition, emotion, or anything other than a rational method. Well, this is the way it worked before, so it should work that same way again. Is not always the case. Decision-making conditions, there's basically two. One, risk, using statistical probabilities to predict the outcome of your chosen alternative. For example, decision tree, which we'll go over here shortly. And uncertainty refers to the inability to predict the outcome, and uncertainty is pretty much a common factor. Some of the decision-making tools are the probability theory used in risk situations, predicting mathematically the likelihood an event or outcome will occur. One of the other tools for this is also called design of experiments. A decision tree is a graphic tool used to evaluate the decisions through a series of steps, attaining the expected monetary value of each choice, and then select the choice with the best payoff. When there are a series of decisions and outcomes which lead to other decisions and outcomes, you should use a decision tree. The procedure is to include all the possible and states of nature, including doing nothing. You enter the paths at the end of each branch. You calculate and determine the expected value of each branch, and then you prune the tree to find the alternative with the best expected value. So let's go over an example. We have the choice of, do we purchase new CAD, which is software to help design, or do we just hire and train new engineers? And of course, we have to have the do nothing. So we first look at it, and is there a high probability or low probability of high sales? And what's the probability of low sales? So we're going to say there's a 0.4 chance that we're going to have high sales, but more likely a 0.6 percentage that we're going to have low sales. And we do that in each branch, both the CAD and the hire and train engineers, so that the numbers determining the factors are similar. So we take a look at the revenue for buying from the sales would be $2,500. The manufacturing cost would be $1 million. The cost of CAD would be $500,000, so we'd have a net of $1,000. On the low sales, if the revenue was only $800,000 instead of $2.5 million, the manufacturing cost would be $320,000, but the CAD cost would still be the same. It'd be $500,000. So when we calculate it out, we have a net loss of $20. So to purchase the CAD system, it would be $388,000. Looking at the hire and train engineers, same revenue. Manufacturing costs would be higher, be $1,250,000. Hire and training cost of these employees would be $375,000 for a net of $875,000 for high sales. Low sales, on the other hand, the revenue would be $800,000, again as in the example above. Manufacturing costs would be only $400,000, but the cost to hire and train would still be $375,000. So the net would be $25,000, which means we actually are better off hiring and training than we are purchasing CAD. And then we prune the tree with the two marks that you just seen, which indicate this is the decision we're going to go with. Now, there are advantages to group decision making. You get better quality decisions. There are more alternatives and some creative mind input for innovation. There's a better understanding, greater commitment from the group, improved morale and motivation, and improve team skills. The disadvantages, however, are wasted time and slower decision making. It takes longer to make a decision, and workers are not productive, so it costs more money to dedicate resources to it. And, of course, the old satisficing again, are groups more likely to accept the fastest, easiest resolution since nobody really individually gets the blame? There's also conformity and groupthink. Group may feel pressured to go with a group decision to avoid conflict. Groupthink occurs when members withhold their opposing views. Domination and goal displacement. One group member could dominate the group decision. Displacement occurs when an individual tries to get the group to accept their preferred alternative. And again, a disadvantage of group decision making is it takes longer and it costs more in resources. Effective groupthink occurs when participants' primary drive is to achieve group consensus without analyzing or exploring other possible alternatives. The ways groupthink can negatively affect a meeting: it limits information sharing, it limits critical thinking and critical analysis, it limits open-minded discussions, and I add, it blocks other potential ideas and solutions that might be a better situation. Characteristics of groupthink. There are 4 basic signs pointing to that mentality. 1, the group feels it's morally right. Members filter negative or contrary information from the group leader. Challenging ideas or thoughts are censored or discouraged. And dissenters are pressured into conformity. They're pushed by the group to agree. How to avoid groupthink? Well, be alert to assumptions. Challenge, analyze the thoughts and decisions they made. Promote and encourage open and frequent communication. Encourage the silent or reluctant participants. Ask them directly for their input. What do you think we should do? Assign a critical evaluator. Have someone argue every point so as to be the devil's advocate. And when necessary, invite an outside expert. It helps lend fresh insight to the situation. Constructive conflict is when people focus their discussion on the issue while maintaining respectfulness for others having different points of view. The advantage: it encourages people to present their divergent viewpoints. The challenge is, though, that people get defensive when their ideas are questioned. Constructive conflict can easily slide into perceived personal attacks. So there are 5 really good group-making decision techniques that foster creativity: brainstorming, synetics, nominal grouping, consensus mapping, the Delphi technique. They all lead to creativity and innovation. Brainstorming is a process of suggesting various possible alternatives without evaluation. You just throw the ideas out there. Synetics is a process of generating novel alternatives through role-playing and fantasizing. A lot of your game programmers use synetics. Nominal grouping is a process of generating and evaluating alternatives using a structured voting method. Consensus mapping is the process of developing group agreement on a solution to a problem. And the Delphi technique is a process of using a series of confidential questionnaires to refine a solution. But this process could take several iterations. So brainstorming encourages free idea thinking. Accept all ideas. No ideas are stupid. But the con to that is it sometimes presents useless ideas and wastes some time. Nominal grouping: individuals can support or reject an idea without fear of ridicule. However, members have no idea why others voted as they did. Why did somebody disagree? The Delphi technique is pretty unique. Ideas are generated from various members who are not face-to-face, and there's more time to consider the idea. However, the bad news is it does take more time, more effort with reiterations, and members cannot ask questions of one another. There are no discussions. So what is brainstorming? It's a structure in which participants try to think up as many ideas as possible. And there are 4 specific rules. Speak freely. Describe even the craziest idea, because one crazy idea can spark a thought in someone else. Never criticize others or their ideas or suggestions. Provide as many ideas as possible, because quality does increase with quantity, and we want everyone to build on each other's ideas. The strengths are produces more creative ideas. There's less evaluation apprehension when a team supports a learning orientation. Strengthens decision acceptance and team cohesiveness. And it shares positive emotions, which encourage creativity. But the weaknesses are production blocking still exists, and evaluation apprehension exists in many groups. Now, there's also what's called electronic brainstorming. It relies on network computers to submit and share creative ideas. The ideas are distributed anonymously to other participants, which everyone is piggybacking ideas off of the other. Anonymous vote electronically on the ideas presented. The strengths are there are more creative ideas, minimal production blocking, there's no evaluation apprehension or conformity problems. But the limitations are it's too structured and technology bound for some. Some leaders may also feel threatened because of honesty of statements generated and a limited ability to control the discussion. The value of group decision making is when is it superior to individuals? Well, the group method is superior if the resources are successfully pooled, you have the right group compensation, you have good communication within and with outside of the group, and the task is too complex for just one person. However, individual is better if a simple and quick decision is needed, and you don't need action needed from most of the group members. So, approaches to group decision making, we have the consultative method. One person has authority to make decision, but polls or gets advice from the other team members. It's used where the leader has management authority and overall responsibility for the task. It's efficient, but it only uses part of the team resources. The disadvantages are the team is not fully committed. It ignores conflict among members, which help create creativity, and it encourages competition. In democratic decision making, the group votes on a decision, and it's a quick way of including everyone's opinion. Majority decision tends to produce higher quality work, but it could result in a premature closing of discussion. And the majority makes decisions, but the minority feel like they don't have a voice. So there's a lack of commitment from the losing minority, and thus there could be resentment. Consensus decision making is a discussion of an issue until all the members agree to accept it. All may not favor, but they all agree to accept and support it. The problem again here is it's time consuming. When successful, it improves team operation, but that's if it's successful. It takes patience and skill to utilize this method as a leader. The normative leadership decision-making model is time-driven and development-driven decision tree. Enables a user to select one of 5 leadership styles appropriate for the situation to maximize decisions. The normative model, because it provides a sequential set of questions that are rules or norms to follow, and it determines the best leadership style for the given situation. The leadership participation styles decide. The leader makes a decision alone and announces it to the followers. Wrong. It's not a good participative style. You don't want to exclude input. Consult individually. The leader tells followers the problem individually, gets information and suggestions, and then makes a decision. Consult group. Leader holds a group meeting and tells followers the problem, gains information and suggestions, and then makes a decision. Facilitate. The leader holds a group meeting and acts as a facilitator to define the problem and the limits within which a decision must be made. You can delegate. The leader lets the group diagnose a problem and make the decision within stated limits. Group decision-making problems are disagreement. Premature closure, making a quick vote decision to avoid disagreement. Or time pressure to decide. Support first decision because of management pressure to hurry up and come to an answer. Follow past solution because it worked once before. There's also outside stress. Decisions might be quick and not well thought out. It could result in groupthink, a quick uniformity of opinion, or reduced generation of ideas, which then results in poor quality decisions. Some of the decision-making problems is group polarization, which is a risky shift phenomenon. Groups will make riskier decisions than individuals would. And the group norm shifts to extreme. They either become more conservative or they take more risks. Group think method, structural design making flaws. They ignore external input. The lack of diversity and viewpoint within the group causes less creativity. There's acceptance of decisions without critical analysis, and often groupthink is influenced by a dominant member or leader. The nominal group technique is written ideas, discussion, and rank and order of solutions. Advantages are it's quick, discourages pressure to conform, no social relations needed. But a decision making process requires a trained facilitator, and you can't use it for complex problems. So in nominal group technique, you describe the problem, the individual activity writes down possible solutions, the team activity looks at the possible solutions and discusses it, and then again, individual activity, you vote on the solutions presented. It is face-to-face without full interaction. The team is nominal, that is, a team in name only during 2 of the 3 stages. After the problem is described, individuals silently write and independently document their ideas with possible solutions. And then the participants collectively describe these ideas to the other team members, usually like a round-robin format, with no criticism or debate. However, sometimes clarification of ideas is encouraged. After the problem is described, participants silently and independently evaluate the ideas presented. How effective is this technique? It's good for high task orientation and a low potential for conflict. Production blocking and evaluation apprehension still occur. The Delphi technique is even more cumbersome. It's a good method, but it requires a series of written surveys of open-ended questions. It works well with teams who are a long distance from each other or large groups. The size doesn't matter. The consensus is sought despite the size of the team. However, it's time-consuming, and you need skills to develop and analyze the surveys in a proper format. The Ringy technique is written document with proposed resolution developed anonymously and used for controversial issues. Advantages, and expresses true convictions. Embarrassment is avoided because anonymity is there and there's no face-to-face interaction. But it's slow and there's no guarantee there's going to be an agreement. A consensus decision model uses team resources fully, complete team support for implementation, it builds team skills, and it's achieved when all answer yes to the following. 1, are you willing to agree that this is what the team should do next? 2, can you go along with this position? 3, can you support this alternative? If all those are yes, this is the best method. So, there are many methods that you can use for team decision making, and you have to just find out which one works best for you depending on the situation and the type of team you're leading. Thank you and have a wonderful day.